Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about the Babalyon Bee made a joke about Vivek Ramaswamy, and some people are upset about it, but I thought the joke was pretty funny. Not like laugh out loud kind of funny, but like a good kind of internal, like acknowledging it was humorous, but I don't laugh out loud about a lot of things, so maybe other people laughed out loud, but I thought it was a pretty good Babalyon Bee joke, but people are upset about it. So Vivek, for what it's worth, didn't express that he was terribly offended by it. So we'll talk about that. Also, we'll be talking about Tim Pool had like a major freak out on Luke when they were talking about Trump and COVID and the jab and how he responds today about things that happened in the past. And Tim's just like, it happened 4 years ago. There's other things going on. Like, I'm so sick and tired of this. So when I play the video, FYI, there's going to be like swearing and other stuff like that. He really flipped out about it. And to me, the freak out didn't make sense. He might be sick of talking about it, but the criticism that people have or concerns that people have are valid because they want some sort of accountability, and we don't even see a little bit of like reflection on the issue. So we'll be talking about that. Also, there was a video that came out I guess maybe last week that Trump had pushed on Truth Social, and it got around. And Trump even apparently showed it to a crowd in Iowa. There's a video called God Made Trump that was pretty controversial, but apparently he liked it. And the Democrats, when I say Democrats, the Democrats, but I think the Lincoln Project made it. At least I saw it on their page. I don't think their logo is in the video that I downloaded though, but I didn't know who made it. So maybe they made it. If they made it, it's probably the best thing I've seen them do. It's terribly fan fiction what they've crafted, but is it effective? As someone who cuts videos for like politics, I think it's a pretty solid video. So we'll talk about how Democrats are going to move going forward, and their strategy for the general, and will it work? So anyway, before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that stuff. So you guys can support in that way. I very much do appreciate it. There's different merch that you guys can check out at the store. So go ahead and check out different t-shirts and hoodies, and we got mugs as well. So check that out. Also, I do have many books that I have written. I have 17 altogether. 2 are nonfiction. One of my nonfiction books is, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. So that's available. Also, I've got children's chapter books and stuff for like older readers as well. So go ahead and find my stuff. You can go to the website. If you go to the merchandise page, there's a link that will take you to my book website. Otherwise, you guys can just search my name on Amazon. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats or super thanks. I do read them unless you guys are writing like something, I don't know, pretty vulgar or something. I'm not going to read those out loud, but I do look at the super chats and read the super chats. Anyway, I do have a meme, kind of a meme, or we like to start with something humorous if we can, but this is, it has risen to the level of a controversy. So anyway, the Babalyon Bee had posted the other day this video with Vivek. I mean, not video, but this headline. So the Babalyon Bee, they're a parody website, and so they make fake headlines, obviously, but they're politically bent, and sometimes they're hit or miss. I think I don't even, does the Onion still do stuff? They're much better than the Onion. They'll have good headlines, most of the time. I can only remember maybe laughing out loud maybe once or twice with her headlines, but I think other people, it's easier to get a laugh out of other people than me. So anyway, I thought this was a good joke. Actually, I thought this was a good joke, but it's causing a stir, and even people who make offensive jokes all the time are offended by this. So, um, Babylon Bee headline: Trump promises Vivek an administration position running the White House 7-Eleven. So you might say, what? Or maybe you are aware of racist tropes of, or stereotypical tropes rather, of Indians working in 7-Elevens. I immediately, and I think most people who are aware of this with Joe Biden, back in the day, Joe Biden was talking to somebody, a reporter, somebody, and he said, you can't go into a Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven without a slight Indian accent. That's what the current president of the United States said. And it's on video. Very easy to find if you Google it. Just go to YouTube or whatever, you'll find it. So that's immediately where my mind goes with this joke. Beyond that joke, I mean, like, Apu, Simpsons, Quickie Mart, sort of those sorts of marts. Now, for the record, I don't think I've ever walked into a 7-Eleven and it was just dominated by Indians. I don't think that's happened. I can say that's happened at Dunkin' Donuts though, but not 7-Elevens. So of course this I think is hitting on Joe Biden in his comment, doing a callback to that. But I think it's also acknowledging the fact that Vivek did drop out and now he's whipping for Trump and he's doing stuff for Trump. And people have speculated that he wants in the administration, he wants to be doing stuff, whatever. I don't know. I feel like I don't know what his intentions are. He could run for something. He could want a position in the White House, but he's a young guy with obviously the ability to make a lot of money and run companies and get clicks and views and all that stuff. So I don't know how much he'd like an administration position. And you could say, but he just ran for president. Sure he did. I mean, technically he did. The odds of him winning were always slim. I would say about non-existent. So anyway, people are upset in the comments about this. Somebody, I mean there's some people on the right who aren't like offended. Like Matt Walsh talked about people, but he's mocking folks here. Just reported this account to the FBI for hate crimes. Charlie Kirk said the 7-Eleven would be the most efficiently ruined its 7-Eleven in the country, doing 200% revenue after he fired 70% of the staff, because it's the kind of stuff they talked about. But George Alexopoulos here said, "Yikes!" And then he also said like something on his page, retweeting it, that the Bee would have to like dig themselves out of a hole. And I like George. I like his comics. I've shown them quite a bit on the show, but he'll have like some spicy ones. He'll have some controversial ones. So him being offended by this joke here is a little surprising to me. Very, very surprising to me. Because he's done some zingers. Allie said that, you know, the Onion could never. And other people are joking around about it, but someone said, "Too far, guys. Thank you, coming." Hodge twins, you know, laugh. Some people said not cool. Um, some people said it's poor taste, low blow, not your best work. The best time to delete this post was immediately after posting it. The second best time is now. Pretty lame. Babylon Bee discovered a new kind of joke, racism. Yeah, People have been using stereotypical jokes forever. It's not new. And someone had retweeted. Well, let me first show you guys Vivek's response, because someone pointed out, I think maybe it was Matt Walsh who pointed out that he would think it was funny, and he wasn't. Well, I mean, on social media at least, he didn't cry about it. Besides, like the laugh and cry face here. Um, Matt Walsh said, check out the comments to see conservatives actually offended by this joke. Absolutely pathetic. I guarantee Vivek Ramaswamy is not in the slightest bit offended. You guys really don't need to be his white knight to protect him from the Babalyon Bee headlines. He'll be okay, I promise. And laughing, crying face, I'm a survivor. So I don't know how offended he really was, but to everybody, laughing, crying face. So decided not to be a victim on that. And Seth Dillon, he just doubled down. Some of our readers have expressed concern about this report, suggesting it did not meet the high journalistic standards they've come to expect from us. We want you to know that we've listened to you, we've heard your voices, and they are stupid. So, not digging himself out of a hole, going strong with it. He even did this, show me on the doll where the joke hurt you. So yeah, don't apologize for the joke. It's really not that bad. I mean, it's not extraordinarily funny, but it as I said, it to me it pointed to Biden. That was the first route I went to. And I don't know what Vivek is expecting. I don't know. Like I don't know what his end goal was with the campaign and his aspirations. But people were like, "Oh, he's going to be the VP. I hope he's Trump's VP." It's not going to be anything that big. It's not going to be anything that's super glamorous. There could always be a possibility that he's put on in the cabinet, I guess, but people who are holding out for the VP spot ain't going to happen. But well, you guys can let me know what you think. I don't think the joke was yeah, my sister said she immediately also thought of Biden's comment when she saw it. Yeah, I think that's where people's mind went. And someone was mentioned about Babalyon Bee being racist. I'm like, literally just Google Joe Biden 7-Eleven and you'll find his comment. So and I think I had retweeted and I said something. I know I said just no, I had wrote a comment to someone and I said I don't think Joe Biden would allow Vivek to work at the 7-Eleven unless he thickened his accent. That's what I said. Because I don't think his accent is up to Joe Biden level to be able to work at the 7-Eleven. So anyway, that's the Babalyon Bee drama. It's just a joke. The joke won't hurt you. And I thought it was I guess on the edgier side for them. They've definitely done edgier things, but the edgier things are against Democrats and stuff, so people are cool with that. So if it's like friendly fire on their side, again, they take issue, I guess. But whatever. Anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about this bizarre Tim Pool freak out over criticism with Trump and COVID and how that was handled. So particularly, well, actually, it's not even so much how Trump handled COVID, like as it was all happening, but how it's being addressed right now and concerns of how it won't be addressed in the future. I think those are the concerns. But he had a huge freak out. They talked about it on a show with Luke and some other panelists, and Laura Loomer was there, and just I don't like for there to be like a bunch of swearing and stuff when I play stuff, but I didn't have time to like edit out, and Tim gets really angry, so there's some swear words and stuff in there, so just a little heads up. But the clip is like about 4 minutes long, so we're gonna watch the whole thing. I may interrupt. I anticipate I'll interrupt, but here we go.
That one was like just.
And it's not the first time.
Think we need an acknowledgement from Donald about what happened to Operation Warp Speed. There's been a lot of Americans that have been injured. One of them was here at the.
I'm so sick of talking about this.
We haven't had it. It's still a major issue because let's just say he comes into office. The CIA, Peter Daszak, Echo Health Alliance, all they have to do is restart and do whatever they did again, because there isn't a conversation about, hey, I learned my lesson. Hey, there's some mistakes made. I should have done something better. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When still he's telling people to get boosted just a few freaking months ago.
The policy.
So very odd to me right there, him putting out Trump derangement syndrome for people asking these kind of questions, having these kind of concerns. Because I don't know many people who are on the right who don't have those concerns. They may look over it because they adore Trump, but people want there to be some kind of accountability for everything that happened. Anyway, let's keep watching.
And it's funny when I see like these centrist type journalists who don't like Donald Trump actually arguing with people over this. And they're putting things like, man, I really don't like Trump. But Operation Warp Speed was therapeutics and vaccines by choice. It was never forcing people to get medical treatments. And when that happened, he came out and said they shouldn't be doing this. And now years later, I'm just like, dude, it's 4 years later. Okay, I get it. Yeah. We should never forget how bad those things were. But it's weird to me that we look at these blue state governors who literally murdered people in New York, and it's like, but Donald Trump, it funded scientific research.
Can I just say something too? Can I just say it goes back to the concept of revolution. Look, I understand people have to provide for their families, and so I'm not trying to sound like a cold-hearted bitch with what I'm about to say, but everybody has choices. Everybody has free will. And I'm really sick and tired of listening to people say things like, oh, I would have lost my job, or, oh, well, I would have been fired. You either stand for something or you fall for everything. And if more people in this country would have stood up and taken to the streets and fought back against these tyrannical lockdowns, President Trump never forced the vaccine on anyone. President Trump never forced extended lockdowns. President Trump never forced people to wear masks.
But Trump people
allowed their children to be forcefully vaccinated.
Was against lockdowns. Trump attacked Sweden, who decided not to lock down. That's a fact. I still want an acknowledgement of it, and because we don't have an acknowledgement of it, because Trump still believes that the vaccine saved hundreds of millions of lives.
Let me take it
into
the
scenario could again unfold.
Okay, I'll tell you why I'm done with this. Because the anti-Trump people say Trump did the exact same thing Ron DeSantis did, but Trump was wrong when he did it. And then the DeSantis people are like, DeSantis did the same thing that Trump did, but DeSantis was right when he. I'm like, dude. In the beginning of COVID and the lockdowns, Donald Trump said 15 days to slow the spread. And we were all, not everybody, but a lot of people were like, okay, well, we don't know what's going on. And now that we have hindsight, you have people being like, Ron was correct. No, Trump was correct. No, Ron. Dude, I don't think we need to adjudicate what happened 4 years ago now that we have hindsight and we can talk about it today.
But then it's not.
We absolutely need to. Tim owns a business, guys. When something doesn't go right, when things are going wrong in some kind of way, you take a step back and you analyze what happened, what were the mistakes made, and you course correct to fix things, or you make different, regulations or rules or protocols to make sure those things don't happen again. So if there's no reflection and accountability, people just expect that these things will once again take root if there is another sort of pandemic, or if it's not a pandemic, just something that people could arrange. Never waste a good crisis. Isn't that what Rahm Emanuel said? And the Democrats just repeat that mantra, and they live by it. They lived by it during COVID, that you don't waste a good crisis, that you're going to implement things in your state and federally and get all this money passed. Once 15 days to slow the spread happened and they started doing the lockdowns and they decided to do the CARES Act and all, Trump basically enacted his doom. Like he did. Because those drop boxes and stuff were funded by him. And the mail-in, 81 million votes, I could never. Or we had a historic amount of votes because people got ballots that they could just mail in. And there was incredible pressure for people to mail that it was crazy nonstop. There were commercials that would come on TV. It felt like a threat. If you didn't mail in those ballots, there's extreme pressure but low effort. So those voters who don't want to even go wait in line, they don't have to do that. And someone could pick up their ballot. So they orchestrated the whole entire country to grind to a halt in order to be able to take advantage and secure the bag. So if there's not some kind of reflection, since it worked so smashingly before, especially because there was this huge transference of wealth from people to the super wealthy, Bezos, everybody ordering stuff online and other folks, while your small business goes out of business. I will never forget this video of this man from the west side of the state own a music store just sobbing because his business couldn't stay open. And he said it's not the closing of a business, it's a closing of a dream, or the end of a dream. You know, you can't just be like, oh, that was 4 years ago. And I don't care how angry you are when you say it. It's important to talk about these things. It's important to say, okay, gosh, we got to pump the brakes on this gain of function research. We got to look at these people who gave this, who analyze this data, these people who try to hide data from the American people, because if we got this particular data, then their agenda maybe couldn't have gone as smoothly as they wanted it to, because we look at it and say, oh, I don't think we should be doing X, Y, and Z. So these people who took advantage and were deceitful and has destroyed public trust for a lot of folks, there needs to be some kind of reckoning, some kind of accountability. And then just kind of shrugging it off doesn't work. And Luke was correct, which, by the way, there's some people in the comments saying that Luke was also telling people to wear masks and all that stuff. There's old tweets of Tim saying that Fauci was a good dude and all that stuff. And, you know, and that was kind of a compliance sort of attitude. You know, there's some people who are never like for this stuff at all. You know, there are people who were like trusting the authorities, like Ben Shapiro, for example. It still didn't believe in like force, but we're still like adamant and annoying toward people. And, you know, it was hard for me to listen to like Ben Shapiro during that time and stuff. But he was just trying to go by the data. And then when it was like, oh, these people weren't quite being honest with you, then it was, I don't know, like the scales fell from his eyes or something. I don't know. But I don't know if Luke has, I haven't seen Luke's tweets. I just saw what people said about it. So if they're correct, and if he hasn't acknowledged that, it'd be nice if he acknowledged it, but he's not, you know, running to be the leader of the free world, right? So it'd be nice. So there's not so he's not a hypocrite or whatever, but it is way different with Trump maybe not acknowledging this stuff versus like Luke. And so he's still pointing out true things, regardless that they're just trying to bum rush and I don't know, deny it or just sweep it under the rug or whatever. Luke is correct. They're correct that Trump wanted therapeutics, that he wanted the vaccine to be available for people to take. And he didn't force people to do it. However, he did come at different states, different governors for opening up. He did criticize states for opening up. So you can't ignore that. When Georgia was opening up, he wanted Kemp to not do that. And Kemp was just, he looked at the data and he wanted to open up, and he could either backtrack and be a simp for Trump, or he could do the right thing and get his wrath. And Trump tweeted at him. Trump went on TV and complained about him. So he complained about Georgia and them opening up, but then criticizing like Michigan and Democrat, you know, run states for how strict they were. And we just can't ignore that he came at people for opening up. So to pretend like he just left in people's hands, there's even a tweet that says that he still has like all authority in it. So you just can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. And to the hindsight thing, though, I remember the fear, like with that first weekend, we went before everything closed down, like the day before everything closed down, or day or two, whatever, that Sunday, we went to Red Lobster. And I'm not crazy about Red Lobster. Everybody loves the cheddar biscuits, right? But it's not my favorite thing. I'm not huge on seafood. There's good seafood. I do like shrimp and stuff, but it's not like if I had to pick a restaurant, that's gonna be my last restaurant for I don't know how long. It wouldn't have been Red Lobster, but we went out after church, and I just remember the waitresses being so concerned about their jobs, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And at that point in time, like stuff already started to kind of close down, because it just automatically, not like from any kind of government edict, but people were concerned, stores were concerned that people weren't going out. And so Trump did the 15 days to slow the spread, and funny thing is that Dr. Brooks from his team wrote in her book that they really didn't have the data to justify. She always knew that they were going to go longer than 15 days. 15 days to slow the spread. It was always a lie. It was always a lie. Always a lie, right? They always knew that they were going to ask for more than 15 days. And they didn't have the data to justify more than 15 days. They just hoped that it would come and materialize. So they kept pushing beyond 15 days. And I never really wanted to lock down. He said, like, some people are right, some people are wrong, hindsight, etc., blah, blah, blah. Not to humble brag, but I never really thought it made a ton of sense. But it was what it was. I'm just like, okay, 15 days. They made the decision. But when they kept saying we need to slow the spread, to me, I'm just like, if we slow the spread, aren't we prolonging the virus? Like, can it be stopped? And so I just didn't think it made a lot of sense. And so when the Great Barrington Declaration came out, where you had these different doctors, epidemiologists or whatever, coming together saying, no, we need to shield the people who are most vulnerable and try to have life continue on as much as possible, normally as possible. I'm like, okay, that seems to make sense to me. And so I felt validated, and then people tried to like downplay it, and it was like coordinated with Fauci and other folks trying to like discredit that and so on. And we were just locked down forever, it seems, and the rules got dumber, really dumb. Like in Michigan, you can go out in the water as long as you're in a boat that doesn't have a motor. You gotta have a paddle or something. I'm like, why? Like, why? why are you filling in skate parks with sand? Like, just the most craziest stuff was going on. So there has to be some accountability somewhere, at least, so we don't do this kind of crazy stuff. There was a clip where people are talking about Fauci saying that the social distancing thing, that like there kind of was no big basis, and I have to go and watch that myself. But if that's the case, I'm about to you will see another video of me going off about that, which didn't make any sense to me either, by the way. When they first said we'd go back to restaurants and stuff and dine in, and people were saying you have to wear a mask and then take it, like you have to wear it when you come in and you can take it off when you go into the restaurant. I'm like, ha 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 ha, like it could have been a Babalyon Bee headline. I'm like, that sounds so ridiculous. And I thought people were joking online. And then they actually started running into it in the restaurant. And so one day we went to this breakfast place. It was me, my sister, one of my sisters, my two older sisters, and I was the first one to walk in, and they're like, you have to wear a mask. And there was like no one else in the restaurant. and we were walking like to a booth that was a couple feet away. And I'm like, you need me to wear a mask to walk right over there. And I could have been one of those people that were just like, defiant with the not wearing the mask or whatever. But there was such terror in her eyes. And she's just, we just don't want to get shut down again. And this was a place that we would buy food from, owner, good dude, been good to us when we go to the restaurant. We were buying stuff from the restaurant while they were closed down, carry out, hoping that they would survive. And they did end up surviving out of COVID and stuff. So I didn't want to cause trouble. That's not my property, right? So they asked that of me. So I did put on the mask, but I'm looking like, this is crazy. And everybody knew it was crazy. There's some crazy people who didn't know it was crazy, but everyone else knew it was crazy. And we walked a couple feet and we sat down. None of this stuff ever made sense. On the boxes with the mask, it says it doesn't prevent COVID-19. It didn't make sense. But we just rolled with the punches. And a lot of these things were coming out of when the media or different folks would criticize different governors or whatever, they would point to the CDC and recommendations coming out from Trump's administration. So he could talk about hindsight and, it's easy to say stuff now, but there are people saying stuff before. And the reason why, Florida, they shut down for a minute. They did. That's true. And there was an interview with Ben Shapiro and Ron DeSantis, and Ron was talking about when he decided to open back up, and he's like, well, I just looked at the data and it just realized it didn't make sense. And so I was just like, yes. Like, I'm like, thank you. Because he actually looked at the data. Trump isn't like, he relies so much about getting stuff from people who's around him. Now, if he has good people that's around him, you'll get some good policies, right? If you hand him if the Federalist Society hands him a list of judges and says, pick off of this list, you're probably gonna get some good judges because the Federalist Society gave him that list. He didn't think of them himself. So if you get a good group of people around Trump, good things will happen. That's his administration for some of the good wins and some of the things he didn't like. Okay. He's very reliant upon the folks around him because he doesn't dig deep into the stuff himself. But with the COVID stuff, he was very reliant upon Fauci and other folks who had all kinds of crazy agendas. So, again, I guess it's easy to say stuff in hindsight. But this thing persisted for too long. And there were other decisions that could have been made. I remember watching a press conference with Cuomo, and they had people going to work who were essential workers and other people staying home. And he mentioned, and I mentioned this somewhere in the show when this happened, so you could go back through the timeline and find it, I guess. But he mentioned that people who were staying home were the ones were catching it more than people going to work. And I'm like, okay, this isn't making sense. So people are still getting it. So people can it be stopped? It just didn't make sense what we did. And it kept going and going and going. It kept going and going and going. And of course, Biden was worse, absolutely. And he was authoritative with the mandates in a way that Trump was not. That's true. Between Trump and Biden, Trump is better. Trump is better. But if people have criticisms over COVID, they're valid. They do have valid complaints. And the difference is that someone can look, and I've seen situations like this. I was trying to find a particular clip before I came on live, but I couldn't find it in time. People can look Trump dead in his eye and say that the vaccine hurt people. And he'll be like, oh, it was a fantastic vaccine. Operation Warp Speed was so great. And he'll just ignore it. I've heard him say that no one has died from it. And I'm like, I've seen a father sob because his teenage son is no longer with him. So if people are like, I would like some humility or some acknowledgement that the things should have been handled differently and there will be some reflection, I don't think that's a hard ask. And I don't care how angry Tim Pool gets about it. I don't think that's a hard ask at all. Like, I don't expect Trump to start getting choked up and kind of crying like Ron DeSantis when he talked about concerns about how much damage they've probably done to the people who were alone in the nursing homes who couldn't see their families. I don't expect Trump to get choked up like that. But to just kind of ignore that there was harm, I don't think, if you're expecting some kind of like reckoning or reflection with this, I don't think it's going to happen with Trump being in the White House. Definitely not going to happen with Biden in the White House. But it's not going to happen with Trump either. So let's keep. And by the way, Laura Loomer going off about how people should have just marched in the streets and done that stuff. I think that people should have stood up more to it. Absolutely. There was plenty of people who did, plenty of people who protested. They were called grandma killers and all kinds of different stuff. People were arrested. People were jailed, fined, all kinds of crazy stuff. But there were people who stood up. But it's a very real concern for people who are like, am I going to take this shot and be able to provide for my family or not? There's a friend of mine out in Canada, and I've told this story before. He worked very hard for his career in the medical field, and they were like, you have to take it. And he got tested for like the stuff that was in it. He was like tested that he was allergic to like everything in it, basically. And he's like, oh, can I get an exemption from you guys, from the doctors? And they're like, no, we can't do that. What we're going to do is we're going to slowly administer the vaccine with like an IV drip or something to try to counter while you're like having this reaction to it. And he had a couple of videos on TikTok just talking about his distress of it. And but doctors didn't want to give exemptions. I don't know what kind of alert that doctors got, or some kind of demand that they got to not allow people to have exemptions for this, but they wouldn't give it to him. And so he ended up getting it. It did make him quite sick, but he lived to tell the tale. But it's crazy to me just how adamant they were about this stuff. And it's a shame that like in Michigan there was no reckoning for Gretchen Whitmer. But people were blinded by their fear. Like, I remember complaining to somebody, it was a relative, about all the crazy edicts she had. The ones who didn't make any sort of sense. And she just got frustrated and was like, well, what did you expect her to do? Like, what did you want her to do? I'm like, not make stupid edicts and be tyrannical. But people just gave her a pass. And then some people actually had a good pandemic because they got money for not working and they got to spend it on shoes and all kinds of stuff. And didn't have to pay certain bills for a minute or whatever. Got a reprieve on different stuff, student loans and rent and whatnot, So they had a pretty decent pandemic. Got a couple checks from the government, and they were paying people more money to not work than to work. And if you went to the mall, stores like Nike and they were having like a good old time with their sales. Anyway, let's keep watching.
Fair
and,
go
and,
after
and now,
DeSantis.
Now what's going to happen is
if you can't criticize Trump on this, why are you going to?
Now what's going to happen is everyone's going to just keep going back to 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
No, I'm asking what happens next year? Can we get an AG that actually looks into the creation, the funding, all that, and prosecute?
Can we arrest Fauci? Can we please arrest Fauci?
We can't.
That matters.
All I'm trying to say is that people have their opinions, very strong opinions about COVID. I'm, the biggest Trump supporter there is, and I never took the vaccine, never got boosted, never will. I'm a proud anti-vaxxer.
But Trump did get boosted. Right?
I just want to see more personal.
I'm losing my fucking mind.
I feel like I'm moderating a zero hedge debate.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, dude. This is what I felt like at the zero hedge debate,
dude,
by the way.
Holy fucking shit.
Let's just not talk over each other.
I have had this debate 7,000 times.
Hey,
and I'm sorry. I'm losing my fucking mind. I am so over people being like, Trump was bad because Trump did a thing.
No, I agree with you.
We did not know what was happening 4 years ago. And now we are 4 years on with mass illegal immigration, 10,000 people per day, and you're talking about a vaccine program for 4 years ago. And here we go again.
The comments were made a couple of weeks ago by Donald Trump about this.
Donald Trump came out and said it should be your choice.
Yes, that's my point.
We're done.
He said you should get.
Do you guys think that the reason why we talk about
okay, all right, let's solve this.
I'm not
talk
to
a doctor. Talk to a doctor.
Okay, so that's all I got from that snippet with them, but yeah, he was furious. Again, Trump did not force people to take it or coerce people in a way that obviously Biden did, what he tried to do with people's jobs, and what they made like medical people do. And the Supreme Court ended up ruling in his favor because they got like Medicaid or whatever funds. Was unethical and unnecessary, but they did it anyway. And there's a clear difference between Trump and Biden, sure, but I think there's a difference between Trump and other candidates who Trump was at the mercy of his advisors who had different opinions on the matter. And I get it. Trump didn't want to be the one to be blamed if millions upon millions of people died because he did X, Y, and Z or didn't do X, Y, and Z. I understand. But the data, what didn't support all the stuff that was going on and people's retaliation to everything. And then he really felt pressure to keep Fauci and do as Fauci, like they put out an ads saying we do what Fauci tells us to do. That was his campaign pitch in 2020. There's campaign ads with them, we do what Fauci says. So very, very concerning, all this stuff. Tim's reaction is a bit baffling to me. Tim's reaction is a bit baffling to me. He's probably had this debate a lot, sure. I get it. But Tim Pool talks about a lot of things repeatedly. So 4 years ago, it's not like it just happened. I mean, Trump was president like 4 years ago, right? So that aspect was 4 years ago. But it's important, again, to talk about these things because they will just repeat these things. If you don't learn the lesson from history, you're just doomed to repeat it, right? Democrats got a lot of wins with COVID and was able to assume a lot of power with COVID. And as soon as Trump announced 15 days to slow the spread, he basically ended his election. His shot at being in the White House. Again, he authored his own demise when that happened. So why wouldn't you want to look around and acknowledge that mistakes were made? But I know that's not his style. I think I said the other day, we were talking about something with Trump, and I said I think the only time I recall him ever apologizing for anything was a Hollywood Access tape. And I can't really think of another example. And I'm not going to hold my breath for one either. Anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about this video that Trump showed. It's called God Made Trump. And it's pretty interesting. Now he showed it in Iowa, to some people. Allegedly, some people were turned off by it. I don't know how many people could possibly be turned off because he like dominated, obviously, in Iowa, and also like handedly won with evangelicals as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and show this video, and then there's a video that the Democrats have made that's a parody of his video that, in my opinion, is very fan fictiony and dishonest, but it's effective, and I can say that as someone who does cut videos. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that. Just give me 1 second. I left my charger in my recorder in the other room, so I'm just gonna grab that really quick, and then I'll play you guys the video. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So anyway, Trump did not, to my knowledge, I don't think someone on the staff or somebody made this video, but he did retweet it, and not retweet, but like retruthed it or whatever. But he did show this on the campaign trail. So here's God Made Trump.
And on June 14th, 1946, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God gave us Trump. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, fix this country, work all day, fight the Marxists, eat supper, then go to the Oval Office and stay past midnight at a meeting of the heads of state. So God made Trump. I need somebody with arms, strong enough to rustle the deep state, and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to ruffle the feathers, tame cantankerous World Economic Forum, come home hungry, have to wait until the First Lady is done with lunch with friends, then tell the ladies to be sure and come back real soon, and mean it. So God gave us Trump. I need somebody who can shape an axe, but wield a sword, who had the courage to step foot in North Korea, who can make money from the tar of the sand, turn liquid to gold, who understands the difference between tariffs and inflation, will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, but then put in another 72 hours. So God made Trump. God had to have somebody willing to go into the den of vipers, call out the fake news for their tongues as sharp as a serpent's. The poison of vipers is on their lips, and yet stop. So God made Trump. God said, I need somebody who will be strong and courageous, who will not be afraid or terrified of the wolves when they attack, a man who cares for the flock, a shepherd to mankind who won't ever leave nor forsake them. I need the most diligent worker to follow the path and remain strong in faith and know the belief of God and country, somebody who's willing to drill, bring back manufacturing and American jobs, farm the lands, secure our borders, build our military, fight the system all day, and finish a hard week's work by attending church on Sunday. And then his oldest son turns and says, Dad, let's make America great again. Dad, let's build back a country to be the envy of the world again. So God made Trump.
Oh, so I guess Dilly, I've seen him around online. He's typed some pretty obscene things. So I guess he made that. But Trump did share it. So that was pretty controversial for folks. saying things like that he needed a shepherd, all that stuff. That's going to a weird sort of religious hero-y worship kind of place that I think is not appropriate. I said the Democrat one that I'm going to show is fan fiction-y. I think that's pretty fan fiction-y as well. We need a shepherd who will never leave you or forsake you and stuff. I mean, I talked about this yesterday, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing today again. But like this, I'll briefly like summarize. I'm not going to go to all the details, but in the case of like the elector situation, his lawyers knew that wasn't going to work, but they still wanted to press forward with that as well, like having the fake or the alternative electors at different states. And now some of them are being prosecuted, like in Michigan and stuff, and they haven't received help from Trump. So I think I don't think they probably feel like they're forsaken because they're good Trump, loyal. Well, some of them maybe perhaps, but I feel they were forsaken. So I don't think he meets quite the standard and all the expectations of that particular video. But it's just a lot. There was a poll, I don't remember the numbers, that came out some time ago, and it was like, how much do you trust your pastor? It was like, how much do you trust Trump? And Trump had a higher rating than the pastors. And I'm like, this is concerning. It's a little weird. That's a little weird, guys. I don't think Trump should be getting higher marks than your pastor on the trust level there. And but people do have like I don't know, so too many people are so into politics and even put politics above religion. Like they're quicker to try to talk to someone about why they should support Trump, or they'll get more offended if someone says something about Trump and they'll defend him. And they'll be willing to do that more in a beat than they would if someone said something about Christianity or Jesus or something, and they're not gonna evangelize like the way that they would evangelize for politics. Like if you're a political activist and you've knocked doors for a candidate and you made calls for a candidate, have you done that same thing for Christ? Have you knocked on a door and say, hey, could I pray for you? Have you gone up to a stranger and done that? Can I do you attend a church? Do you know the Lord? I've talked about this before, but while the election was going on in 2020 on like M59 in Michigan, there'd be these people just set up waving Trump flags and stuff. And I went over there once and I was like passing out black tea cards and talking to people, interviewing people, etc. Blah, blah, blah one time. And then you keep seeing them even after the election, like when it's being contested and all that stuff, like they're still there. And then after Jan 6, they were still there. And then sometime later, they're still there. And after a while, I'm just like, man, I wish people loved Jesus the way these people love Trump. Because they're still there waving their flags. And so again, if you're more enthusiastic to evangelize this man or the Republican Party or different candidates and stuff than you are to actually evangelize the gospel, I think you need to take a hard, long look in the mirror and be like, are my priorities together? Are my priorities together? Because after the 2020 election, so there was a Stop the Steal the stuff, and I know so many people who are just like raging every single day about different stuff. I prayed about it, and I kind of felt like a peace. And people would ask me about it. I'm like, well, I feel like the Lord gave me peace about it. And I don't know if that's because things are going to be okay as far as like, I don't know, results being overturned, or it's just okay because God doesn't want me to worry and it is what it is. But I just, felt that internal peace about it. And so I wasn't like freaking out like other people were freaking out about it. And then my dad also went to the hospital. So we were occupied with things that were far more important to us anyway. So I wish he had won. Don't get me wrong. People just make this stuff their whole life. And it's weird. People lose relationships, friendships, family members over politics. And I don't get it. Like my oldest sister would tell people like a lot of these Democrats and Republicans are friends or whatever. You see the Bushes hanging out with the Obamas, Michelle handing George W. some candy and him like leaning on her or whatever. That's their friend, like don't break relationships over these people at the end of the day. Even like with Trump, like you could say something he doesn't like and end up, being ripped apart on Truth Social. Even if what you said was just true and honest. If you didn't like it, he could rip you a new one. So I do what's best for the country, but do not like raise these people too high. Anyway, let me show you the counterpoint to that God made Trump video. And I'm pretty sure the Lincoln Project made it. And I have never seen anything from the Lincoln Project that I thought was good, like at all. And I mean persuasively either. I don't think I've seen anything that I thought was like, oh, that's a good video there. Or even some of their tweets are just like really cringe. I know they appeal to, so the Lincoln Project are supposed to be like these disgruntled Republicans that are so against Trump. They've come together to do anything in their power to take him out. The problem is that they get all this money and stuff from people who hate Trump. So most of those people are Democrats. So they can't actually like Republicans anymore, right? People who've grifted so hard on hating Trump, who used to be or thought they were on the right at one point, they appease this audience. And now that's who their audience is and their bread and butter. So they have to keep appealing to them. So these are people who are essentially Democrats, I would say now. And because they don't support Republicans, they're beyond just not liking Trump. So there's their Lincoln Project or whatever. They don't make good content usually. This video is, I think, pretty effective content. I saw them post this video and it had their logo in it. I don't think the video I'm about to show you has their logo in it. But it's pretty effective video. So this is to counter God made Trump. This is God made a dictator.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a man to test the will and goodness of a free people. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who failed in everything but theft and broken promises to live in a golden palace and convince the poor he serves their needs. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a wicked man to lead the common folk with hatred and fear. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a corrupt man who is above the law and immune from justice. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who will use violence to seize power. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man whose followers will call black white, call evil good, and call criminals hostages. So God made a dictator. God said, I need his political party to obey without question, and the press fear his wrath. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a cruel man who uses his power and position to punish and harm his opposition. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who breaks the faith of even his most godly followers and leads them to idolatry. Place him above me. So God made a dictator. And then God said, I sent this man to test you, and until you cast him down, you have failed. So God made a dictator.
Objectively speaking, again, I cut videos, like political videos. That was my job when I worked at the Michigan Republican Party. That was a good video. Someone in the comments said, Angie here said that she didn't like the God made Trump video because, let me just, if you don't mind, Angie, I'm going to show your comment. I hope you don't mind. I really don't like the video. It's way over the top. It gives ammo to the left and their idea that we worship Trump as a savior. I support Trump as a man, but the only savior is Jesus Christ. I agree with that. I think the God made Trump video makes us look like wackadoodles. And the response from the left here with this God made a dictator video, which they're playing off of Trump saying that he would be a dictator. He did say that, but he said for a day, meaning that he was going to just like start getting rid of like Biden's like executive orders and stuff. So he's kind of said that in a not joking about what he was going to do, but as far as like the manner of just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. It's tongue-in-cheek kind of joking situation, but the media was like, oh, he says he's going to be a dictator. And the idea that he's like comparable to these real dictators is crazy. Or even the fact that he's so above the law. Is he not being indicted? Is he not facing 91 indictments? Was he not impeached twice? If someone who's above the law, they don't usually get caught, or face some kind of repercussions. Trump, he's been in situations, and the first impeachment was crazy stupid. The Russia hoax, people go after here for things that's not even like real. So the idea that, I said some of that stuff that they were going to put in there was fan fiction-y. But the part that's really effective is that part where they start talking about his followers who are being idolatrous. So it is the perfect compliment to the God made Trump video. I got to give him their kudos. That was an effective video. Is it effective for like, Trump supporters to turn away, be like, oh, I'm not supporting? No, not in that sense. For other Democrats, sure. Soft Democrats, like moderates or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Independents. Because here's the thing. People can be concerned about the state of things now, the country, the inflation, the economy, the border, all that stuff. But they're going to ask the question, can we weather this storm of Biden and stuff? Who'll make excuses? Like they try to say stuff like, oh, well, this metric is good here. People just don't understand the economy or how good it is. And I don't think you can unconvince people of what's the reality when they go to grocery store, the gas station or whatever. They can feel how the economy is doing. You can't just gaslight them or whatever. But they'll still try to distract with other stuff. Sure, they'll try it. But they'll still say, well, it's hard, but we'll try to survive this. Can we weather the storm a little bit longer? Is this just kind of the how things would have occurred? Like, because people were expecting a recession, so we hit it. They spent a lot of money, all this stuff. So inflation, it's not as the rate of inflation isn't as high as it was before. And some people even talk about inflation and don't realize that even if it's not 11% inflation and now it's 3%, they'll be like, oh, inflation's gone down. No, the rate of inflation is gone down, but it's still, stuff is still inflated, right? So my point is, people will be like, can we manage this right now and deal with this for another 4 years, or hopefully it'll turn around. Maybe it'll turn around automatically or whatever. But can we afford for Trump to come back into power and him to amass more popularity and fame and power with his followers and gain more, etc., put certain people over positions of power when they're already this kooky in their opinion, and it's just going to get worse? Like, what's the ultimate damage to the country is what they're going to be weighing. whoever made that image of Trump, like on the cross with the American flag, you helped no one. You helped no one when you made that. Unless you were a Democrat making fun of people. I guess you helped your side. And that was an effective ad, guys. It just was. Because people might be like, we need to break the cult. That's what's going to be in people's minds. Like, yeah, legal immigration is bad. There's too many people coming over here. But can we afford the cult to be in charge? That's the purpose of a video like that. And objectively speaking, it was quite good. As someone who cuts those videos, I would like be inspired or hear music or something or a phrase or see a CNN interview and be like, oh my gosh, and I pull something together. I love like trashing Hillary and all that's, I really liked my job. It was fun. And I would make good content pieces. So yeah, from a professional point of view, that was a good video. And if it didn't speak to you, you weren't the target. But that's the kind of stuff that would speak to someone else. There is a debate. Beth Moore was going back and forth with Ali Stuckey. And I know we're over time here, but I just want to mention this before I go. About Trump, because people were concerned about the amount of evangelicals who voted for Trump in Iowa. And let me see if I can just go through the thread really quick. And Ali had a good response to Beth. But I don't think her response it will be totally effective. But Ali did acknowledge that Beth had a pretty big blind spot. I'm gonna have to go to Ali's page because I don't think I liked it. I know she retweeted her, like quote tweeted her. Okay. Let me share my screen with you guys. Okay. So Beth Moore sobered by last night and trying to practice what people call radical acceptance, not of a presidential candidate because surprising things happen, just plainly sobered by the thought that with other individuals to choose from, masses of people still hail Trump. He's what they actually want in a leader, a bully, a verbally abusive, artfully and purposely divisive bully who has all but left the Republican Party unrecognizable. I don't know. I just can't understand it. Maybe I've got a mental block, but you who are staunch Republicans, why don't you care about your own party more than that? Forgive me. I don't want to be a repeat performance of my 2016 self. I didn't like her any more than you did. I intend to deal differently with this. I do not intend to get obsessed. I do not intend to lose more relationships. I don't intend to talk about this regularly. As the scriptures say, I want to seek peace and pursue it. I want to be a person of kindness, love, and compassion, but I've got to move to a place of radical acceptance. It was one thing to cast a vote for a party's only candidate, reasoning the choice as the lesser of two evils. This is quite another thing. This is a wide open-eyed, we want Trump. Anyway, this is where we are. We can complain all we want about our leaders, but in this government by the people, at the end of the day and the beginning of November, our candidates are mirrors of ourselves. So Beth has had a lot of posts I obviously didn't like, but I thought that was an interesting post there, but Ali had a good response. She said, Beth, while Trump isn't my guy in the primary, nor was he in 2016, I do think you have a blind spot. There may be a segment of Trump fans who love everything he posts, including the name calling and the accusations of backstabbing toward former allies he now considers disloyal. But the majority of his ardent supporters don't like these things. It's just that to them, his flaws pale in comparison to what he's accomplished. His SCOTUS picks helped overturn Roe, saving thousands of image-bearing lives. He helped bring about unprecedented peace in the Middle East. He oversaw a booming economy. I could list things I think he did wrong, but he also did a lot of things right. That's why people like him. Plus, his political enemies have thrown everything possible at him and still are. Heck, the Time magazine published a whole article explaining how national and international entities work together to keep Trump out of office. Thus, his supporters think if all the people that hate me also hate him, he must be onto something. They see him as a victim of an unjust system and the only one who can effectively fight back against it. You can agree with them or not, but it's inaccurate and unfair to say everyone who votes for him does so because they enjoy bullying and verbal abuse. It's like saying that everyone who voted for Biden specifically wanted someone who can't complete a coherent sentence and lies constantly, which brings me to the next point. Where is your lament for our current political leadership? The Biden administration is objectively wicked, destructive, oppressive, idolatrous, bloodthirsty, foolish. It actively promotes the butchering of the children both in and outside of the womb. Its support of abortion and genital mutilation are sufficient reasons to publicly condemn Biden and his cohort. And yet, at least from what I've seen, you haven't. The faults of the White House go beyond bullying. The policies it pushes causes chaos, death, and decay. Every single city dominated by these progressive policies have been destroyed. Death, violence, drugs, inescapable poverty, all enabled and exacerbated by laws enacted in the name of progressive compassion. It's okay that you don't like Trump. I have my gripes too, but save some righteous anger for the greater evil unfolding before your eyes under this administration. If Trump is our mirror, so is Biden, and that, I'm afraid, is far more a sobering thought. So that's a great response from Allie Stuckey here. It is true that there are plenty of Trump supporters that do like the name calling and other stuff like that. It's like people cheer it on online all the time. So it's true that exists. There are people who just don't see it. They're aware of like some of the stuff, that he said and it's reported in the news or whatever. But I was looking to thread. I think maybe it was under Candace Owens thread, and she was talking about how people need to unify or something like that, and people who were like DeSantis folks are like, how are we supposed to just unify after Trump he talked trash about DeSantis, implied he was a pedophile, he retweeted or retruth Laura Loomer, on a clip where she said he was on the spectrum. Laura Loomer accused Casey DeSantis of faking her cancer, downplaying or whatever. Trump, his team had a bingo card saying that Ron supported slavery, or defended slavery or something like that. Don Jr. said that DeSantis was transitioning, called him like Rhonda because of his boots, his cowboy boots, which I'm not crazy about his boots, but the list could go on of different stuff that was said. And some people in the comments were like, I've never seen anything like that. What are you talking about? And I'm like, you guys are online and you haven't seen that, but people get accustomed to, they follow who they follow, they're in particular algorithms. So yeah, maybe they haven't seen all the stuff. So some of Trump's name calling and other stuff, I don't know how you can miss it, but those things are pretty bad, but not everyone is aware of all the things maybe Beth has seen or whoever. So there is a segment of Trump supporters that do like the memes and the dozens and the name calling and all that stuff. They cheer it on and they make egregious memes or whatever. They defend people like Roger Stone when he calls people a C word and other stuff like that. Those people do exist, but there's people who aren't aware of it, and then there are people who don't like it and still, as she said, likes Trump's accomplishments and so on. Now to Beth's point, she's like, it is a open primary and you can pick someone else. So people are still saying, with all of Trump's flaws, are still willing to pick him over someone like DeSantis, who has a very good record and it still wants to like stand on a lot of who is to the right of Trump, obviously with conservative issues, and would align more as far as ideology with the things that they believe, but they still want Trump, and they feel that way because, well, they view him as the incumbent. They don't feel like it's an open wide primary, and they feel like he got screwed last time, and they want to rectify the situation. To those people, I would say your loyalty to Trump to want to reward him for doing a good job. That's why you voted for him in 2020, right? So you already maybe people voted for him in 2016. I voted for him in 2016, and we didn't know what exactly he would do. We know what he was saying, and we knew he was better than Hillary Clinton. And then he did a good job. Not a perfect job, but well worth a second term, especially considering he was weighed up against Biden. And we voted, and what happened. So I don't necessarily think that you should feel that obligation if you want to support someone else, but it is what it is. So I do think Allie's point about it doesn't make sense if you're going to be all anti-Trump for his behavior and not call out the Biden administration, not just for Biden's personal behavior, but for the policies that really impact and hurt people. It doesn't make sense if you're not going to call that out. And I haven't seen her call out the Biden administration on that stuff. So that was great on Allie's part. But I think at the end of the day, if Beth certainly has a blind spot. But if there is some kind of independent out there who's like, I don't like either option, a lot of people will kind of go with the current circumstance if you don't give them a reason to go on a different path. And you could say, what's a binary choice? And they might say, well, no, you guys had other options. And now that it's these two, I don't want to vote for Biden, but I might do that because you gave me Trump. So that's something to think about, because that's what's going to be on the minds of some independents who hate Trump's guts. And I know there's people watching or people who follow me who consider themselves to be independent, and they like Trump and they're going to support Trump. Like, okay. There's still plenty of independents who don't like him, who said they know that he's being prosecuted unfairly, and they still don't care because they don't like him. That was concerning to me. And I'm talking about the Bragg indictment. Everyone knew that was garbage. Independents were still like, I don't care that he's being politically prosecuted. That's scary for lots of reasons. For the political ramifications, but for justice, they definitely shouldn't feel that way. And I definitely am concerned that they're going to vote that way. Definitely concerned. The last thing I'll say about this before I close up shop today. One of my early TikToks that I did that did pretty well. There was a song from Kesha. It was like, can I get to only some things God can forgive. And then she does this high kind of scream. It's like, something like that. And so people were using that sound. And I used it, and it was like someone arguing with Democrat was saying like, look, the party switched. We're not racist anymore. And then I'm like, okay, so why did you vote for Joe Biden? and then it's like zoom in and like anger in the face, and then there's a scream. And so it did pretty well on TikTok. And so people in the comments, though, who were Democrats would reply and say like, well, I only had one choice. And I would reply back to them like, no, you had choices. You had a primary. You guys selected Biden. And then you voted for the guy who said all this racist stuff. Like that was your decision. That was your choice. So many people would say, we only had the one option. And I would say, no, that's not true. That's who you ended up with. So they still made the choice of Biden, even though they didn't like him, even though they thought he was racist and maybe creepy and all kinds. I don't know anyone who, like, in real life, who said, I like Biden, I'm voting for Biden. They're like, I'm a Democrat, I'm voting for the Democrat candidate, or I'm voting against Trump. Like, I've never heard anyone say that they're voting for Biden ever in real life because they like him. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying they don't exist, but that was their mindset. So if people are going to get to the general election and say, okay, we have this binary choice between Trump and Biden, you might still have people who are like, I hated Trump's guts. And you knew that I hated his guts. And you still picked him anyway. And you're trying to force me into this binary decision where I have to pick him now. And they might feel like you had other options that you could have presented me. So they might opt third party. They might leave it blank. They might vote for Trump. But they might still vote for Biden. So I don't know what will happen in the general. I guess according to polling, it could go either way. But if people are just like, Biden's numbers are so terrible, there's no way he'll win. People aren't voting for Biden anyway. People aren't voting for Biden anyway. So lots of interesting conversations happening. But to all of you out there with the if you're someone who probably got made fun of in the God made Trump, or the Trump is a dictator video, and you have a sort of evangelical enthusiasm about Trump, you need to tone it down a bit. Just a little bit. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. By the way, I called someone in the know about the Nikki Haley situation, about the VP, and she's being considered. I don't know if there was a rumor that it was pretty much decided. That's a rumor for all I know. I'm just telling you guys, don't be surprised if it's Nikki Haley. And I know I have not seen anyone who was excited about that news. But just know that it's a possibility. And I'll try to, if I get some more concrete, I'll let you know. But it doesn't really matter because Trump could change his mind. So even if a source tells me that it's going to happen, he could always renege on it, right? But people were saying it would never happen. I have no idea why you think it would never happen. I have no idea why you think it would never happen. She's a neocon, etc. Blah blah blah. You pick John Bolton, mustache and all, for his admin, palling around with dudes like Lindsey Graham and help Paul Ryan, and push comes to shove, these guys, they all work together. So if Nikki Haley comes with Coke money and makes independents and a lot of other people feel better, and he can boost his ticket in that kind of way, she makes sense. People are like, I want it to be Vivek. It's not going to be Vivek. It would not help his ticket. It would not help his ticket at all. Tucker Carlson would not help his ticket. It wouldn't. I don't care how much you like him. It wouldn't help his ticket. And you can say, well, Nikki will hurt his ticket. Will it? Will it? Because I think a lot of people complaining, if Trump can be like, yeah, we need to basically surrender the abortion thing and cut some kind of deal that allow like 98% of abortions to occur and people just nod along. I think he could make you guys like Nikki Haley or live with it. I think so. I think they know at the end of the day people will get in line. So we'll see what happens. Excuse me. We'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream and run my website, all that stuff. You guys can check out different merch that we have available at blacktnews.com, like different t-shirts like the My Money, My Business shirt here. We got the mug and all sorts of different things. We got pro-life merch, and if you're from Canada, I mentioned my friend from Canada. I made this when the whole trucker thing was happening. So I thought this was a pretty neat shirt. So, by the way, Jordan Peterson, maybe we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but the higher courts in Canada basically ruled that he could be re-educated. So I think he's gonna have to pay to be re-educated. To be able to keep his license and practice or whatever. So I don't know how Jordan's going to fight back, because he has no kind of legal recourse at this point to there's nowhere else for him to go. So it's not a totally surprising decision, but it sucks for him. Sucks for liberty. But yeah, keep stay strong, Jordan. Stay strong. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.